Salud, guys, and welcome to the Weight of Time. Have you been toying with the thought of moving abroad? Now you want to retire, you're going to go find an exotic place with beaches or mountains or whatever it is that floats your boat. And hey, it sounds real romantic because you're going to have less cost of living, you're going to have adventures, meet new people, all of those things, which, by the way, are true. However, it is important to be prepared and do some homework. I'm going to give you a little backstory of me first. My father was a Marine. He was sent to La Paz, Bolivia from Missouri. He met my mom. My mom was half German, half Bolivian. They got married and then came back to the States to finish his education. I was born in New Mexico, my brother in Colorado. We went back to Bolivia, and my father never came back to the States. Loved South America. I was raised biculturally. Never spoken Spanish to my dad, always English, and always Spanish to my mother. So for me, Spanish, English, one language, Spanglish. I was educated in English, but we were back and forth visiting family. Anyway, bicultural is a little tough. When you're in Bolivia, you're missing the US. When you're in the US, you're missing Bolivia. And up to now, half of my heart is in Bolivia. The other half of my heart is in the United States, because that's where my people are, all over the place. But I met Pete when I was 31. We got married really quickly, and then we started traveling. He was building the American Embassy in La Paz. Then he got sent to Bogota in Colombia to build the American Embassy there. I loved Colombia. What a beautiful country. And Bogota, top-notch city. We were there right in the thick of the Cartel of Medellin when Pablo Escobar was just doing all kinds of fun stuff. But it was crazy. It was crazy in the early 90s in Colombia. They would have power blackouts in the afternoons, and all the traffic lights would turn off. So when we moved there, I asked Pete to please buy me the biggest truck I could drive, because then it's a matter of who's bigger and who's going to get through that light faster. You really didn't want to be stopped at a light for too long. And if you were, you had to have your windows up, your doors locked. In that sense, not very fun. But other than that, it was great. Then one day, we started getting some phone calls, and they'd hang up, call, hang up. Very typical, no big deal. They used to happen in Bolivia too. When you rent a property in Bolivia or Colombia back then, the landline stayed with the property. And apparently the house we were in used to belong to a judge. So we really don't know what was going on. One afternoon, I picked up the phone, and they said, they gave me the name of the FARC, which is, was the terrorist group then, and hung up. And so I called Pete. I told him, hey, this just happened. Although we weren't affiliated with the American Embassy, he talked to the security people there. They called me immediately, because we were American citizens, or we are. And they said to me, look, if they call you again, here's the numbers to call us back. We don't play with this in Colombia. We don't know. It could be a joke or a not. So sure enough, midnight came, phone rang, I answered, and they said, we are going to kidnap you, and hung up. When they hung up, I figured out they were calling me from a car phone, the CB radios that had a little lag. So, of course, I did what they said. I called the embassy. By noon the next day, we were out of Colombia. That was a very stressful time. I had to leave my kids back in Bolivia, back and forth from Colombia, from Bogota to La Paz, Bogota. And, it wasn't fun. But finally, Pete's like, enough. I can't do this anymore. And we came back to the States. Peter's a civil engineer. He's also an attorney. So he decided, maybe I'll try wet my feet in the law. So we lived on the East Coast. Then we moved to the West Coast, Northern California, Southern California, back to Bolivia. Then Vanuatu, where I am currently. From Vanuatu to Guam. From Guam back to the United States for me. I started the restaurant. Then back to Vanuatu. So we've lived in Bolivia, Guam, Vanuatu, and Colombia. And of course the United States. So it's been fun. It's been an incredible adventure. We have wonderful memories. But there are things you need to know before you jump on that airplane and take off. All right, number one, you need to understand that the world doesn't revolve around you and you are moving into somebody else's country. It doesn't matter that you might buy citizenship. People do that, you know, or become a citizen after living for a while. You are in somebody else's country. And it's really important that you know how to respect their culture, how to respect their customs, how to, you know, you don't be one of these people that move and you're all upset because, oh, there's no KFC in town, or you can't find the products that you love at the supermarket, at their supermarket, and compare. Oh, my country's better because I can get this and that. Don't do that. If that's the type of person you're going to be, stay in your country, because it's disrespectful and people don't like that, and why should they put up with that? Try and immerse yourself in the culture. Try and learn at least the basics of the language. I've been trying to learn Bislama for a while now, but at least I know the basics. You know, thank you, please, how much is this? You know, just the basic stuff. I understand it when they're not speaking super fast. Bislama is, of course, the language of Vanuatu. It is kind of a pidgin English, a combination of English and French. And once you train your ear, you can actually get it. But it's nice to try. I see it when I go to the market, for example, and I'm trying to speak the language. People like that because it's a respect. You know, I'm not forcing my language on them. They don't all speak English, and you know, and it just I can tell there's another energy when you do that. Do that. The food is going to be different than yours. Of course it's going to be different than yours. Accept it. Taste it. Give it a chance. No, I don't like that. I don't like how it smells. I don't like how it looks. Ew. Don't do that. For me, it's so disrespectful to go to somebody else's country and be like that. Don't do that. Try. At least try. You know, taste it. You don't like it? Okay, you don't like it, but you tasted it. All right, so that's the spiel on being respectful and adapting. You're not going to find the same things you find at home. Of course you're not. You're going to another country. You know, when we moved to Vanuatu the first time, I was in the thick of the Frugal chef. And I used to plan. I had my list. This is what I'm cooking this week. Here's my menu, blah, 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 blah. And here's my grocery list, and I'm doing this and this and this and this. Well, then I moved to Vanuatu. Back then, almost 16 years ago, there wasn't much. There was a lot of the local organic stuff, but not the stuff I wanted to use to make my videos, right? I mean, if we found an apple at the supermarket, it was, wow, there's apples at the supermarket. Now it's changed. Now now there's a lot more things that we find that we're used to. But back then there wasn't. So of course, when I first moved, I was like in a little panic. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And then you just learn. You learn to substitute things. You learn to go to the market. Oh, okay, there's this. That's what I'm going to make, right? Instead of making a big deal of it. Peter used to fly to Expat, which is the main island, all the time for business. and we're here because of Peter's work, and he runs the power company here on the island of Espiritu Santo. But he'd go down with a little grocery basket, and he'd get me, garlic and red onion and things like that, and come back with his little groceries once in a while. But you adapt. You learn to use what you can find, right? Don't expect for things to be super organized. Okay, so you're going to go get your driver's license. You're probably going to have to go back a few times. I'll tell you what, in Bolivia, the bureaucracy gods don't like me. It never fails. I always have to come back tomorrow. Things have improved incredibly through the years, but you have to be patient. Don't start losing your patience and raising your voice at people. Again, it's not your country. Be respectful. I'm not saying be a pushover and let people abuse you. You're not going to find that. I have never found that in all the different countries I visited and lived in. I found that if I respect people, people respect me. And if I'm friendly, people are friendly. Find out what kinds of visas you need. Do you need a visa? What kind of visa do you need? Do you need a visa to work? Are you going to want to do something? Work part-time? Will there be work for you to do? Find all those things out. Find out if you can bank. Some places are just not interested in opening bank accounts for Americans because they don't want to have to deal with reporting to the United States that you have money in their bank. Find that out. Find out about taxes. How much is it going to cost you? Are they going to tax you here? Are they going to tax you in both places? The United States and the country you're in. Find that out. Find out things about, like, internet. Is the internet any good? Because you're going to want to have some decent internet if you're leaving your family behind because you want to be in touch, right? Do your homework, guys. Don't just show up and try and figure it out as you go because that's just going to be a big headache. One good way to finding out things is to follow expat groups. Expat groups, you can find them on Facebook, I guess on Instagram, Reddit, I don't know. But find an expat group and ask the questions. Ask them, anything that concerns you, find out. Oh, one thing I'm missing that's really important is health insurance. Find out what's going to happen if you get sick. Are you planning on having international insurance? Is that insurance going to cover you if you have an emergency? Will they fly you out, take you back somewhere, depending where you're living? Are you planning on having local insurance? Is it any good? What does it cover? We're older. We get sick. We need to know if, something happens, how we're going to deal with it. Another important thing to find out is what happens if you die in that country. If I die here in Vanuatu tomorrow, heaven forbid, I stay here. Why? There's no cremation. There's no embalming. I stay here. This is where I'm going to stay. Find that out. Figure it out. If you're okay with that, then more power to you. Bottom line, guys, is living abroad is fantastic. It is really, really great. It enriches your life. You're going to meet the most wonderful, most interesting people. It's going to be a great adventure as long as you are prepared and you're respectful and you're flexible. You're going to be very happy. Thanks for being on the Wait of Time. I'm going to see you guys soon.